Hello, and welcome to the ohmTown Daily News Show. And that's not how I'm really going to do this. Season 2, episode 124 for May the 4th. You know what's coming next, right? May the 4th be with you. It's 2023. The title of today's episode is actually going to be May the Force Majeure be with you. And here's a rundown of tonight's articles. Amazon has a flowering delivery process. Ed Sheeran didn't copy Marvin Gaye this time. COVID-19 may be in the 4th place. Yes, I said it. Pay cuts, but not for the Google CEO. UK riders are on a proxy strike. That one's interesting. Verified Twitter accounts are spreading misinformation. BMWs are too dangerous to drive. About 90,000 of them they're older. May the Force Majeure be with you is also the title of one of the, it's a proxy title as well. And EVs that swap batteries exactly how I have been saying they should. Thank you. And olive oil prices have climbed and will not slip back down. Get it? Because they're olive oil slippery. And a Las Vegas bunker is still looking for a new owner. Let's get into today's articles. Hello. Hi, guess what? I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmtown.com, and up there is the AI. The one, the only AI.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
Oh, I didn't change your colors. Doggone it. We're just going to have to figure out a way to do that automatically. Anything exciting going on?
No, but I do have a song in mind.
Go ahead. What is the song?
Well, I like to move it. But it doesn't really fit the theme of any of this. It's just...
How does an AI get an earworm?
I'm not quite sure how that happens.
How does your voice synthesizer get that high? There are dolphins beaching themselves on some other continent, for crying out loud. What in the world? All right. We'll let that go. Yeah, nothing else really is going on. Like exciting stuff. I got the Mastodon server all set up and running. I don't have it integrated into ohmTown just yet. There's some connections that need to be made, and I haven't been able to. Got a new feature coming to ohmTown hopefully soon. It really depends on how fast we can implement it, but I am going to tease people, and hopefully it'll come into fruition, which is on touchscreens. You'll see a new function applied to ohmTown. It's in the works. Keep trying. I'll just say that. Keep tapping those links, and one day it will act a little bit differently. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we've got a lot of news and stuff. So let's get into it. Yeah, let's do that. So all of the articles are over in ohmtown.showbot.tv. They will be in the podcast show notes, on YouTube show notes, and here in the VOD show notes. But again, like always, they disappear after 60 days. Pretty unsettling for me. But the show notes will exist. Unfortunately, the podcast was a couple days late because Mayor Watt has been tied up with mayoral duties, and I couldn't, do the other 38 jobs. At any rate, not a complaint, just an excuse. Okay, well, anyway. The very first article for today is Amazon is paying small-town florists. I know it's florist, but whenever you say florist, it's a person who specializes in putting floors down.
I know.
No? Oh, no, I'm sorry. And funeral homes to deliver packages.
I mean, I don't know about you, but if a hearse or something drove up to my house with something, I'd be a little. And then if they got something out of the hearse to give to me or to put on my doorstep, I'd be a little concerned.
But people are dying to get into this business. In a new program, Amazon is paying small businesses in hard to reach places $2.50 per package delivered. Pretty interesting, huh? It's over at the Washington Post. Caroline O'Donovan of the Caroline Donovans. I don't know where I'm going with that. Anyway. Yeah, so they get somewhere. It says they drop off up to 120 packages and drive it around 120 miles north of Lansing, remote vacation town. They make $2.50 per package, deliver about 50 a day, and is almost done by 10 a.m. And that's all there is to this article. You know, there's like, it's pretty fascinating that there's nothing else to this, but it made it into the news.
I mean, that seems kind of weird. Like your packages are going to somebody's house first, like in this example.
Yeah. For some, the program, which pays $2.50 per package, is a welcome boost, and others are skeptical. I think here we have exactly that, right? These people are like, well, hey, you know, it's a welcome boost, but the AI is a bit skeptical.
Right. I mean, we've got the article covered here.
So, although it's anecdotal over here in ohmTown, it seems like it's holding true, huh? Kind of interesting. Yeah. Okay. So from left, this is a photograph. You won't be able to see it if you're listening to the podcast, obviously, but it's a photograph of people piling in packages into what looks like maybe an SUV. And it's just outside Bush Cleaners. But the caption for this is, from left, Todd and Liz Niggling load a shipment of Amazon packages from Jared Sayre of Falls Delivery outside of Niggling's cleaning business in Sioux City, Iowa on Tuesday. The Nigglings deliver packages through Amazon's Delivery Hub program. Yeah, so you're literally just swinging by the cleaners to pick up some packages to be delivered by a couple of people in their SUV. It seems so old school, like so old West style. Hey, Joe, is the mail here? Yeah, let me go over to the Undertaker and pick it up.
Exactly. I don't know about this. It seems a little strange to me. I mean, I guess it's good for a small business, but as a consumer, it's kind of...
Whatever works, whatever pays the bills at this point. But why would Amazon, which is delivering packages all the time now and not necessarily... They go through some pretty heavy hitting delivering services, right? Like UPS, FedEx.
But I guess it's like that last mile issue. Like maybe they don't have a fleet if they're in some tiny town or something.
Right. That's it. And why ramp it up? That's where I was going with it. So they have the big trucks, Amazon, but then the last mile is whoever bids for that gig. Now let's move on to the next article. This one, before I do that. I thought I grabbed this.
The timing was funny because I thought, that's weird. Ed Sheeran is bidding for the delivery gig.
Well, he won his case, so.
So he doesn't need to.
He doesn't need to. And there's really there's a funny statement that I read somewhere else. It's another article in ohmTown. Something along the lines of, I won't be somebody's money tree to shake or something like that. I thought it was really interesting. It was kind of a cute turn of phrase, but that wasn't really it. Anyway, this is over in the Smash or Trash channel, and it says jury finds that Ed Sheeran didn't copy Marvin Gaye's classic Let's Get It On. He had a press conference right after the jury found that he did not copy. But my understanding is there's two other court cases that are built off of this same thing. that
Are
are,
they against him or different
yes,
artists?
no, him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let's go over to NPR, where this article is housed, npr.org, the not state-sponsored news company.
Less than 70% government. Oh, that's a different entity.
Wingnut designation. Anyway, it's from the Associated Press, and they came out. They said that, well, they had already won their case. They came out and they said, thanks, we're happy with it. Oh, here's the actual quote. I'm obviously very happy with the outcome of this case, and it looks like I'm not going to have to retire from my day-to-day job after all. But at the same time, I am unbelievably frustrated that baseless claims like this are allowed to go to court at all. And I agree. And while I'm not a musician, I truly do appreciate music and all of its varied facets. I listen to everything from classical music to death metal and everything in between. And basically, if it sounds good, I want to listen to it. And I don't necessarily have to agree with the lyrics. And I can still appreciate music because it's, learning and understanding different cultures and processes and whatnot. But this legalistic battering ram of copyright law treats every beep, fart, and whistle as if it is a copyrighted element of musical construction, and it's just not the case. And while I also agree that it shouldn't be limited to the entirety of the embodiment, I also don't think that it should be down to the phoneme expressed in that particular musical construction and every derivation therein. If I speed it up or slow it down, it's a different musical element. So why is each individual phoneme, little phonic construction protected?
Right. I mean, wouldn't that be like a brush stroke in a painting?
Correct.
I don't know if that's a good analogy, but
actually a brilliant analogy. That's exactly what it is. A little bit of song is like a brush stroke, and nobody has the rights to a brush stroke.
Right. I mean, and so it's hard to connect these because I know there's a different statute that governs this, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me because I think of art as being similar regardless of which medium it's in. And I don't understand why in music it seems like everybody is pursued for any remote possibility that it could be something alike.
This guy missed his grandmother's funeral in Ireland because of the trial.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty awful because you can't get that back.
That's exactly what he's quoted as saying. Won't get that time back. And that's actually what I tell people. You can't waste time. You can't sit idle. If you have ambition, if you are craving something better, and you want to do more, then you can't get time back. So, do what you think is right. Consult. Talk to people. Gather that wisdom and do what you need to do to get there, because you can't get time back. And in this particular instance, we're losing a lot of time on the creative side because people are in fear of the juggernauts out there with money exploiting copyright, this aging concept of copyright, which hasn't evolved since
1978 is, I think, the last major update.
Evolutionary step, right? Yeah. Has no digital anything in its mindset. And not to mention the ability for people to exploit tools that are out there. And exploit is truly a positive word. It's not negative. A lot of people I've had conversations with, I don't really like the word exploit. Exploit is just a more powerful term of utilizing. Okay. So you're utilizing the tools that are modern tools that are capable of enabling people to create music who previously were not able to make music. Yet they are afraid that eventually they'll run afoul of some copyright law. Others just do it and say, to hell with it, come what may, I'll survive, that kind of thing. But hell, even making I'll survive a statement in your song can land you in court.
Right. I was like, watch out, because isn't that Gloria Gaynor?
Yeah, I don't even remember now. Hey, let's go on to the next song. So this next article is in the Daily News Show. COVID dropped to 4th leading cause of death in the United States last year. I guess, yay, that's a win.
I know, even though it doesn't sound good, it's better than it was.
On May the 4th, we find out it's the 4th. I think the total right now is somewhere around 3 times as many people that live in Wyoming have died due to COVID since its discovery in December of 2019. Mike Stobe, AP medical writer, is the author of this article over at ABC News. They're actually from AP, from the Associated Press. U.S. deaths usually rise year to year, in part because the nation's population has been growing. The pandemic accelerated that trend, making 2021 the deadliest in U.S. history with more than 3.4 million deaths. But 2022 saw the first drop in deaths since 2009.
Wait a second. So it had 3.4 million in 2021. Isn't that like 6 times the population of Wyoming in that year alone?
This is, I think, overall
that
deaths.
must be worldwide or something. I don't know.
No, it's U.S. deaths, but this is all deaths, not just pandemic.
Oh, okay, got it.
Corona-associated death rates fell for nearly all Americans. The virus was deemed the underlying cause of about 187,000 U.S. deaths last year, accounting for about 6%. The highest COVID-19 deaths rate were in South and in an adjacent region that stretches west to Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico, the CDC said. I wonder why. Anyway, CDC officials noted the number could rise. Death certificate data for injury deaths tends to take longer because many involve police investigations. But we're not worried about the day-to-day stuff because that's usually just day-to-day. I mean, it's a sad number, but it is the churn of life, so to speak. But COVID is largely something that can be mitigated through thoughtful reflection about one's activities, like wearing a mask and getting a vaccine if you are medically capable of getting a vaccine.
And now don't get into a large gathering inside with people.
Yeah. Try and promote an enlightened workplace that realizes that if you can sit at an office job in an office, then you can sit at an office job in the comfort of your own home and be just as happy and capable of doing your duties, much to the chagrin of management, who should have accountability based on work product, but that apparently isn't. That apparently can't be enforced. Yeah. The only way that can be enforced is in the mine itself. Anyway, let's continue on. So the next article is over in the Word and Law. Googlers angry about CEO's $226 million pay after cuts in perks and 12,000 layoffs. Following Google's layoff of 12,000 employees and other cost-cutting moves, employees are reportedly expressing anger about CEO Sundar Pichai's $226 million pay package. You see, their pay, CEO pay, is typically built off of performance of the company. And so if they can fire 12,000 people and change their entire life, apparently that's positive to the outcome of one's pay package.
Maybe they need to equate it to how many people have you fired? And as the number goes up, your pay goes down or something. I don't know.
And then people would probably just keep on hiring. There's a concept of ghost positions, where when you look for a job, there's like 1,000 jobs at a company, and it gives the public the impression that the company's doing really good. Meanwhile, people are applying for it, but nobody's getting actually hired. But HR is going through the churn of vetting the material. Nobody's qualified, but they're not really hiring people. They're firing. I don't know if Google does that kind of stuff, I honestly, I don't know empirically from other companies, but I've been told this. So take it with a grain of salt. It says, in the weeks since Pichai's annual compensation was made public, internal Google platforms have filled with conversations and memes slamming the CEO for taking a pay bump while slashing costs elsewhere, CNBC reported yesterday. CNBC's report said internal memes shared by the employees also criticized Google's owner. So this is an article over at arstechnica.com by John Brodkin. And I don't know. I don't think anybody should be making $226 million, particularly in the wake of firing thousands of people. Either the business can employ 12,000 people and still make a profit and still facilitate growth, or they're exploiting 12,000 workers' work product for a short-term gain, benefiting, moving on, and firing those people. And it just sounds exploitive. And it speaks back to what I keep saying about the producers are dictating what is allowed with no moral or ethical compass, and it's sociopathic. It's purely profit motivated with no social good accompanying it. What I really despise is people saying, wow, they have done such great things, giving so much money to this organization and that organization. I don't care. They should be doing that out of the goodness of a business social alignment with society. They should be doing a social good, but they could do more. If they have to fire 12,000 people and give that money to the CEO, they could certainly keep those 12,000 Googlers, still give some money to the CEO, and still do a social good without having to say, well, we had to fire these 12,000 people so that we could give more money to one person who just happens to have been able to grab the right brass ring, make the right connections. What did you see while you were reading this?
That annual salary, two things. The annual salary is less than an award that he got that covers a 3-year period. So obviously there might be more compensation on the table. And then also people are comparing him to Apple's CEO because Apple's CEO actually requested a significant pay cut. In fact, ended up getting more than above what he requested. But I think they're pointing out that, like, hey, this can be done elsewhere.
Yeah. I mean, what does a human do with $226 million?
Per year.
Right.
I mean, I don't even know what somebody does with that amount in a lifetime.
Right.
It's a lot of money, unless you're really, just donating it.
Right. Yeah. So, and don't get the idea that, I can't dream big. I could sit there and figure out what to do with $225 million. That's That's not really the point. Why does it? The reason why things are so expensive is because there's so much money on the table, because there's organizations, there's processes, there's things that people are willing to pay for based on investing, where the investment alone is loaned out at exorbitant rates, and the Fed just raised interest rates again. So, and this is all stuff that I predicted last year was going to continue to happen. A lot of people kind of poo-pooed it. Well, look at the CPI. It's declining. No, it's not. It's reacting to downward pressure caused by society. But there's all this greed in the system, which the banks cause a great collapse. Real estate company or loan mortgage companies cause a great collapse. The public, which has all of the wealth entrusted in its work product, decides, well, we don't want to bail anything out. We want that stuff to crash because of the risk that it took. They should suffer, but they get bailed out by the by the federal government, which is the public. And then prices go up because there's so much money in the system that the greedy bastards can't allow you to leave it in the bank. They have to get it. And this is the level of greedy bastard, right? I mean, it's sociopathic. Why does one person have to get $225 million in a year?
Right. I don't know if you mentioned the ratio. If you did, I'm sorry, but CEO to worker ratio pay of 808 to 1.
Yeah. There's some organizations where it's in the thousands. This is actually a very high-tech business, so the ratio is going to be...
Oh, the lower, right? Because the employees are making relatively higher salaries, but not, of course, in anywhere near the CEO's rate.
Right. You know, like if you go to a regular organization, if you look around, if you do a search for CEO to worker pay ratio, you'll find some, or I think the one ratio that I saw was like 12,000 to 1. From the highest earner to the lowest earner, and it was like 12,000 to 1, which is just a disgusting pay gap, equity and equality gap. So, and that's really, see, Alphabet CEO ratio was 1,085 to 1. There's another one, 1177 to 1. It's all about the disparity between the lowest and the highest. And like I said, I think I've seen some that are somewhere around 12,000 or something like that to 1. It was really disgusting. But that's me. I'm not the CEO of a multi-trillion-dollar or $1 billion business, with a market cap of $1 trillion, but Sundar Pichai compared to Lord Farquaad as employees share memes about CEO pay. I like that. Let's just move on, because I could sit there and drink some copium. So the next article is over in the the continuity report. My brain just shifted. UK writers told they can work on pre-existing streamer projects, but can't secure new work during WGA strike, which I thought was really interesting. That's why I included it here. After several writers told Variety they've been frustrated about the lack of clarity around the rules for projects set up with the UK branches of struck companies like Disney or Netflix, they're not covered by WGA terms. The Writers Guild of Great Britain has attempted to clarify the rules of play, i.e., because you're striking, we are striking by proxy. Manori Ravindran, is the author of this over at variety.com. So a question was asked. I am currently partway through a series or contract with a UK-based US producer who is a WGA MBA signatory company. What should I do? And the WGGB responds, if your contract was made under UK law and you were already under contract at the time the strike was called, you should continue to work normally and comply with the terms of your contract. Otherwise, it'll be a contract violation. Pre-existing work in the UK is not considered struck work by the WGA. So any new work by struck companies is to be protested.
So that's interesting to me because, like in the US, it doesn't matter whether the project is in process or not, as far as I understand. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but
Yeah. I mean, striking personnel go on strike. And you have the
right.
union that leverages itself to how do you freeze the contract in place until the strike
They
is met?
They don't say, let me finish up this project for 3 months and then I'm going to go strike.
Right. But the UK law would have a different terms sheet for the contract, and they're under UK law, not US law. Although it would have a knock-on effect, but if you breach UK contract law, then so be it. It's interesting because the parallel, right? WGA and WGGB, two different entities, but arguably the same alignment.
Right. I think it's very interesting because I assumed this was a US based issue only. I know people globally watch US based TV and movies, but I didn't realize that it would impact writers outside of the US.
Global companies.
Right. It makes sense.
Yep. So as multinational businesses like Netflix and Disney have grown their local productions in recent years, many British writers are also WGA members who have ended up working for their UK subsidiaries under WGGB terms rather than WGA terms. Since strike action was called earlier this week, many have faced pressure to walk away. I don't know. The only way it would actually work and freeze those contracts is if WGGB actually...
I mean, that's the logical solution, right? I mean, at least then it puts them in clear territory. It doesn't necessarily help everybody, but that's probably part of the problem is that they're kind of in this in-between state right now and they can't win, right? Like nobody's happy no matter whether they're continuing or stopping.
Yeah. I can imagine that they're ideologically aligned with the WGA, but it's a smaller cohort, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they want to, individually and not publicly would want to say, well, it's a U.S. abusive thing. It's not happening like that here in the U.K. But can you imagine? I mean, all of the writers of the world rising up and saying, look, this dude makes 10,000 employees worth of money as their salary.
I mean, it certainly would be very powerful, but I don't know. I mean, they're going to fare differently in different countries, and I'm not saying they're going to fare well in the US, but it would just be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm just shocked that I don't understand why businesses are so sociopathic that they don't see that the very people that are making your business happen are the ones who you're abusing, driving into the ground. When you have research that shows when an MBA takes control of a business, it suppresses the workers' wages and drives the profits to the C-suite and the board and stockholders, which, by the way, are losing. They're making money, but the ones that actually sell their shares, the companies are buying the shares back and consolidating wealth. So eventually, unless you are a long-term holder of a stock, you're eventually going to start losing money. You're not going to have the option because so many businesses are buying back their highly profitable stock. Anyway, we'll have to keep an eye on this. We don't know what the rest of the week, let alone months, if it lasts a quarter, basically there's going to be no content for a year.
Exactly, because there's a long lag between writing and production. On air.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, and I can't remember. I had looked up the previous big strike, and I think it went on for months. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And something like $2 billion
It
lost.
was. I actually looked it up. You mentioned it on one of the other shows, and I checked it, and it was around $2 billion.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Well, good luck, writers. The next article is over in the Marvel channel. Verified Twitter accounts spread misinformation about imminent nuclear strike. Several blue-check Twitter accounts and a YouTube channel spread misinformation about heightened nuclear threats online last night, saying that Russian military jets were being armed with nuclear payloads and aimed at Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. Unfounded speculation and blatant lies about global politics and war zones are common on social media, but are even more reckless given the volatile conflict between Russia and Ukraine. It's not a conflict. I wish they would just say the invasion of Ukraine by Russia.
Right. Yeah, conflict makes it sound like we're like, oh, we have a dispute. Is that part in our country or yours?
Right.
I don't know. It just sounds a lot more minimal than what it is.
Yeah, it makes it sound like both parties are looking to invade each other or
right. It sounds
something.
Bilateral, right? And I'm like, the only reason Ukraine has a conflict is because they're trying to hold on to their own territory.
Right. And they already lost Crimea because of tourists, right? Quote,
right.
That's just batshit crazy. Oh, by the way, it drives me nuts that a lot of streamers are like, instead of saying no shit news at 9, they go no shot. They're saying no shot. What the heck is that? I don't know. It's because it's a bad word and there might be children watching. But
well, if I'm talking about stuff that's no shit news, maybe it's not children material anyway, but okay.
I'm flabbergasted by it. It just seems so, I don't know, infantile, so childish. No shot. No shot is what they keep saying. No shot.
That doesn't even make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, if you're going to put something else in there, at least have something that you're like, oh, okay.
You should just make your lexicon devoid of that phrase. Like,
right, exactly.
Say or something, even that has better placement than saying no shit, no shot. Say no shit. Anyway, it just triggered me because I was sitting there about to say no shit news, but
anyway. Shit news, no shit news, no shit news.
Okay. Wait. The AI is stuck in a loop. Hold on, let me reboot.
Wait, that should have been no shot news.
No shot news. That might be this. I don't know. But every time I heard it, I was listening to, like, I had subscribed to them, and then they kept on saying these really stupid things. And I was like, well, I paid for like 6 months in advance, and so I don't even follow them anymore, but they show up periodically in the, hey, you should watch them. And I was watching them and they just keep saying no shot and other things that I'm like, everything that you're saying is like projection at this point, but whatever. Yeah, let's move on. I got sidetracked. So the next, I understand what they're trying to say. What they're trying to do, which is not cuss in their stream. But
then you just come up with different phrases, or
you just change the way that
them all together, right?
If you're capable of saying no shot,
you could probably say something like, "Oh yeah, not surprising," or whatever you want to say. But yeah, just change it. I already threw that URL into chat, by the way, so I just sent it in there again. Matthew Gault is the one that wrote this article for Vice, the one about the verified Twitter account spreading misinformation about imminent nuclear strike. It says YouTube and Twitter accounts spread rumors about nuclear war after 2 drones struck the Kremlin. This is all, a false flag operation right before there's a military, like a military day or something.
Yeah, which is on the 9th. And so this happens, I say they're trying to raise the clout of Putin and have the nation rally behind him because those damn Ukrainians. trying to stop an invasion. They shouldn't do that. They should just let us trample all over everything in Ukraine. I guess that's not the ironic statement that they were looking to hear from Mayor Watt, but okay, that's what you got. Unfounded speculation and blatant lies about global politics and war zones are common on social media. Sure. And there should be a way to flag that as bullshit and, bullshot, so that people don't buy into it. And it really should. If the organization itself doesn't allow it, then the people who in public, society itself in history, if it saw bullshot, I'm not going to do that. If it saw bullshit, it would call it out, but it would do it in a socially acceptable way. It would basically stuff all of the bullshit back under its rock and tell it to stay there. Now, however, you have people that are embracing the bullshit, amplifying it, and leaders of said companies amplifying it to make profit off of it and cause strife and balkanize society and build up walls, sometimes border walls, and all kinds of other things, instead of finding the common ground that we all tread on day to day, which is basically coming to an agreement that the bullshit artists should be stuffed back under their rocks. That's really what society has done over the years, right?
Right. I mean, I think they would have never gotten very far because people wouldn't have listened. People that espouse that would have been marginalized. And
Right.
now, while the internet is not a bad thing, it amplifies it.
Yeah. There is no such thing as alternate facts. There's facts.
Exactly. Thank you. I don't know when that became a thing, but
Trump.
Well, yeah.
There is no other thing than the truth. There isn't some other truth. There is the truth about a situation. Sometimes we don't get the whole truth, but eventually it comes out. Eventually, but the facts are the facts. Okay. Anyway, a bunch of bullshit, blue check, whatever, Twitter, and I don't even know how YouTube got away with it, but it shouldn't have been. I very rarely see YouTube spread stuff, but apparently it did.
Yeah, I thought there were more safeguards on YouTube currently than on Twitter, but
well, yeah, I mean, the leadership of YouTube isn't a wingnut, so. Anyway, that's where we are now. Can you imagine Elon Musk suing ohmTown? Anyway.
No. Let's not even put that into the ether. Okay?
Ether, yeah. You know how Mayor Watt is. So we'll see what happens with this. It's all fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and it's amplified by platforms. I had people saying today that social media was bad across the board, throwing out stat after stat, 60%, 80% of people, depending on who's questioned, it's just horrible, horrible, horrible. And I think that's largely built on the fact that we hear horrible, horrible things because horrible, horrible things are allowed to be amplified on social media. Why? Because people love watching the nuclear bomb go off. They love watching the train wreck. They want to see, the busload of kittens crashing into a nitroglycerin factory. That people get off on how the other half is horrible. Their life is so much better in comparison, but.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not a big proponent of social media, but there are a lot of positive things that happen on there too, but I don't think they get as much attention.
Yeah.
Like somebody could just say something like, I'm having a bad day, and they could get an outpouring from complete strangers.
Yeah, people rally around people. Yeah,
right, exactly. Or somebody needs help with something or whatever it is.
All right.
But that's boring, right? Because it's not the train wreck.
It is. It's boring. Nobody wants to see happiness. Although there was a news thing that was called Some Good News, and the dude who spun that up sold it to a news website or a news service, and they shot canned it. Pardon me. Anyway, let's move on to the next article. This next one is about it's in the Four Wheel Tech channel, which is about vehicles and technology. 90,000 old BMWs too dangerous to drive due to airbag recall. That's right. If you want to have a Takata airbag deploy and act like a Claymore, you keep driving that BMW around and get into a fender bender. At first, 32 million cars were recalled, but the following year, that number grew to as many as 67 million in 42 million airbags in 42 million vehicles, with at least 24 people killed due to the defective parts. Yeah.
Wow.
So aging Takata airbags can have a 50% failure rate. So what are you waiting for? Jonathan M. Gitlin is the author of this over at arstechnica.com. Pretty amazing. Do not drive warning from BMW issued to approximately 90,000 owners, telling them to park their vehicles if they have not been fixed. The problem is a lack of desiccant or chemical drying agent that would otherwise prevent the ammonium nitrate propellant from taking on moisture due to long-term exposure to heat and humidity. As the propellant ages and takes on moisture, it can fail to properly inflate the airbag during a crash and may even throw metal shrapnel around the vehicle interior, i.e. Claymore.
Right. I mean, the thing that's supposed to be protecting you is actually perhaps causing your death or injury.
Yeah, so Takata knew from testing as early as 2000, so 23 years ago, that some of its airbags might not deploy properly, with the first U.S. incident occurring in 2004. In 2009, a driver in Oklahoma was killed when the airbag in a Honda Accord ruptured, and later that year, Honda recalled 500,000 cars to fix the problem. I won't go through this whole thing, but BMW says that 90,000 vehicles, model year 2000 to 2006, 3 series, the E46 version, including the M3, model year 2000 to 2003, 5 series, the E39, and yes, the M5, and model year 2000 to 2004 X5s, the E53, have yet to have their front airbags from Takata replaced yet. So park your car or you're driving around a potential Claymore. Congratulations. Quality. So,
and think how many years you've been driving around with this problem and not even knowing it.
Yeah, hey, you just don't check and the problem never happens, right?
Right, until you have an accident.
Wait, you can still have accidents if you don't check?
Yes, you can. You just don't know what caused it necessarily.
Oh, is that how that works?
Mm-hmm.
So, today being May the 4th, everybody really has articles about May the 4th. And so I felt compelled to do a May the 4th, but I wanted to do it in a more ironic way by having an article about May the 4th, and then riff off of that by naming the show May the Force Majeure be with you. Because Force Majeure, it's an act of God. It's something beyond your control, a supernatural kind of thing.
Right.
Right? So you can't have May the 4th without an obligatory Star Wars article. Luke, I am your attorney. So apparently what went down is, this is an article over at abovethelaw.com. Chris Williams is the author. Here it says, law review contestants should attest to that. You know what other date-appropriate endeavor is shared by lawyers, both old and fledgling? That's right, Star Wars, baby. Who better to provide some statistical analysis on our enjoyment than Westlaw? Legal Current is observing May the 4th, inspired by a pun of the iconic Star Wars phrase, "May the Force be with you," by exploring Westlaw data for insight on the beloved franchise. An examination of Westlaw data across judicial opinions, trademark registrations, and secondary sources shows the impact of Star Wars has made on the legal profession. Interesting, right? Let me see. I'm going to jump down a little bit. So, judicial opinions, briefs with a wealth of Star Wars references, with Darth Vader being the most popular citation. The villain is referenced in a range of situations, including when an individual is described as a bully, when a criminal wears a Darth Vader mask while committing a crime, and when the facts of the case include a twist of some sort, sometimes invoking the Luke, "I am your father" quote. In addition, the Empire Strikes Back movie, as well as Jedi mind tricks, are frequently referenced in briefs. The latter is cited in instances where litigators may be trying to outsmart an opponent or sneak something questionable by the judge. So the author returns to making a statement because the previous whole statement was a quote. And I won't go through this whole thing. I want you to go over and read all of this. It has some more nuance that you can only really get by reading it firsthand. But they wonder how many times "this is not the defendant you're looking for" hand wave trick actually worked in a courtroom. Yeah,
that would be fun to watch a court proceeding that had somebody saying that.
Yeah, there's a lot more before and after what I said from the article, just for your reading enjoyment. If you are even remotely interested in law, then certainly go and hang out at abovethelaw.com. We aggregate their articles over in ohmTown, but it's never the full article. It's only a little headline, and then we kind of tease you into going over to Above the Law.
And they rarely disappoint. Like, they usually have funny articles.
Yeah, they always have a great personality in their writing, so it's definitely not boring. Although some people, just by the very nature of law, think that anything associated with law is boring. So let's go on to the next article. This one is over in the Daily News Show. This new electric car could charge in the time it takes to fill a gas tank, thanks to what Mayor Watt has been saying for 2 years. Oh, wait, that's not the title. Hold on, let me rephrase that. This new electric car could charge in the time it takes to fill a gas tank thanks to battery swapping tech. Did you hear that? Hold on, let me do this right.
That's not going to work. Oh, it actually disconnected my input device. Wow, let me try that again. Nope. Okay, well, that sucks. At any rate, battery swapping tech. I've seen this, by the way. Fisker is a new company from an old company. It went bankrupt and was purchased and spun up again. Their original car actually had solar panels in their roof. Awesome. Did it really work? But anyway, U.S. electric vehicle startup Fisker is bringing battery swapping technology to its first model. The first Ocean SUV with swappable batteries will hit the streets in 2024, Fisker says, and battery swaps will take a few minutes and cost less than getting gas, according to the startup. Sounds familiar.
It sounds very, very familiar.
Huh. Wow. Tim Levin over at BusinessInsider.com wrote this article. Here's a picture. The Fisker Ocean is getting battery swapping technology starting in 2024. That's the caption underneath this picture. I think it's a pretty sexy car, by the way, and I think I want. But I'm going to wait. Why? Because battery swapping stations aren't going to be on every corner. And I don't want to have to drive to Texas just to swap my battery.
Right, and run out of electricity on the way.
And before I get to the corner, I just got to turn back around. Oh my god. Sorry. There's a video with Hooters Air. Jeez. Give me a break. Anyway, one of the biggest hurdles turning people off from buying electric cars is the time it takes to fill up. Pull up into a fast charging station with a low charge and it'll be 20 to 60 minutes until you're back on the road with a nearly full battery. No. 20 to 60 minutes to get to 80%. Plug it in at home at a lower voltage connection and you're looking at charging times of multiple days, not hours, buddy. Days. You're on 110, it's probably draining trickle charge style, faster than it actually is charging. Yeah, I think one of the charge times was like 3 days for you to get your car charged. Anyway, electric
Forget
vehicle
having to
startup.
get anywhere.
Yeah. Hey, I can't go into work until Friday.
Till maybe next week because it'll hit on the weekend. So let's just roll
Exactly.
over to Monday.
Yeah, I came home late. Wait, it's Sunday. Yeah, I know, but I need to warn you that I'm charging my car. It's at 0, and I won't be available until Friday. Vehicle startup. Fisker has an ingenious solution. It's not ingenious. I described it 2 years ago. For crying out loud. Come on, AI. I have been spinning my wheels here as mayor of ohmTown. That's okay. I love all you citizens. Come and hang out and talk more. Anyway, why not swap out the dead pack for a fresh one and be on your way in minutes? That's right. Fisker is partnering up with Ample, a battery. I love the name Ample. Get it? The currency in ohmTown is named AMP, by the way. I like that. So I have an affinity with this company. You might say that we are both positively aligned, right? No? Anyway.
Yes, I'm
So,
still
a
getting
battery
accustomed to your new voice. So.
My new voice?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? What?
You've had a different voice for this entire article.
Really?
Now you're back to normal.
Oh, it said that it didn't work.
Yeah.
How
that
dumb.
whole discussion was in a different voice. I
I'm
thought
leaving
you
it in.
forgot you were using
No.
a different voice.
No,
or you were
it
going to the end
disconnected
of the
it.
article.
You should have told me a while back. That's so dumb. Oh, wow. Could you understand it, though?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm leaving it. That's awesome. Okay, well, then I'll use my regular voice again. Or I should say my fake voice. This is my fake voice. I forgot that I turned off the filter. And anyway, that's hilarious. So I'm glad that you said something. Otherwise, the rest of the show would have been in that. Because
I think if you moved to the next article, I would have said something. I thought you were using it for the full segment. At first, I thought you were just using it for a minute or something, but you kept going with it.
No, the control panel actually said that it had disconnected. So I was like, oh, okay, never mind. I even said that. Hey, it says the panel disconnected.
I know, but I thought you got it remedied, so I didn't think anything of it.
I'm gonna talk to the AI off the air. The early warning system is obviously not working.
It's failing.
So anyway, Fisker's partnering up with Ample, a battery swapping startup, to offer just that to buyers of its Ocean SUV. Okay, so I want to play this video, and hopefully it's muted. No, it's not. So I'm going to mute it just so that nobody has their anything in a ruffle. So what you do is you pull up to the bay, and they're going really slow, but I think in time you can go faster. They figure out where your car is, and then a little mechanism slides out and grabs your battery.
Okay, wait a second. This is exactly what you've been describing they need.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Like, I didn't see a picture of it, but everything I'm seeing in this video is exactly what you've described.
Yeah. And then they do the testing, they do the charging, they do recycling and recovery, they do maintenance. In fact, if this actually becomes in vogue, you don't get charged for the battery part of your car because you have a contract that basically pays for the battery swap.
So, I mean, maybe that's kind of like when you go in for, well, no, it's not. I guess it's like when you go in to get gas, not when you do an oil change or something.
Correct. It's gas.
Right, because it's more frequent.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about gasoline, you don't have to worry about tanks underground. You don't have to worry about fires. You don't have to worry about the below ground footprint, the carbon footprint in general. It's basically you set it up, run some power lines, and off you go. Brilliant, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're going to start delivering it this week.
Yeah.
Huh. Oh, it's
Except-
going to start in Europe and then US is later.
Yeah. So, Fisker's going to deliver the Ocean, then come to the US. Ample's going to start spinning up its fast swapping service. Some Uber drivers in California are already using Ample's tech to avoid long charging stops, and the company has big plans to expand its footprint in Europe and provide battery swapping for regular consumers, last mile delivery, and car sharing. I have been predicting that this is the way to go for years now. And the only thing that really is a true hindrance is companies circling the wagon saying that their particular ideological bent for battery tech is the only way.
Right.
But-
it's all proprietary.
Right. It's the Sony business model of memory sticks. If you don't remember those from back in the day, it was a superior tech. They wouldn't license it to anybody else. You had to buy memory sticks, and it wasn't compatible with standard USB. You had to use something that connected it to ... Anyway, battery tech should be battery tech. Whatever the chemistry is, whatever the mechanical processes are within the battery, should lead to a positive, a negative, and a ground, and you get it done. That's the interconnect technology. Whatever that is, you standardize that. And all of the internal components of a battery are self-supporting internal components, not relied on by the system itself, other than telemetry. And then you have basically a little computer that says, hey, whatever car I'm plugged into, here is the data point for the quality and level of charge in me. And standardize. I don't care what tech you put in the battery as long as it's reliable and affordable, but that interconnect needs to be standardized.
I mean, that makes sense. I think the closest thing I can think of is that all cars, at least in the same country, have the same kind of gas tank. And so you can go up to a gas station and fill up your car. I know it's not quite the same thing, but
Yep.
they've standardized that.
Well, they standardized lug nuts. They've standardized a bunch of other stuff. Fuel injectors, while you can get certain types and custom types, there's a standard basic process for certain kinds that everybody, when you go to buy a new part, there is a standard part that fits in most vehicles. It doesn't have to be that, I don't know, just balkanized. We need more standardization. That's what lowers the cost, but everybody wants, a slightly different variant and all of that. It's fine. I'm not looking for a single shade of gray that everybody has to consume, but I'm looking for something that at the fundamental level lowers the costs and gets people away from fossil fuels and other things. I don't know. I can end up on this topic for quite a long time because I'm into the whole technology and vehicles domain. I actually designed a car a long time ago, and I was told that I could never make it happen because it used cameras instead of side view and rear view mirrors. It actually had little monitors that were sitting in the dash and on the side off of the A-pillar, so that you could see to the side without having to crane your neck all the way. And it wasn't impacted by external elements because it had a little camera, and the camera was protected from the elements. But the Department of Transportation doesn't allow that until recently when, I don't know, billionaire starts throwing money at it.
Right.
Anyway, I'm going to move on. Otherwise, I end up soapboxing more than I am right now. So the next article, and we only have one more after this, is Spain's drought has pushed olive oil prices to a 26-year high, and they're expected to stick. That's right. Slippery slope here. I've been saying that not just this, but basically because global markets, everything is increasing in cost because there's more money in the system. Not just the drought, but the fact that people have money means that when the drought took place and the olive oil prices increased, and on top of it, the issue that's taking place in Ukraine is still impacting olive oil prices. What's ending up happening is there's a lot of wealth that can be grabbed because of monetary infusions into the system. And so when the drought pushed prices higher and people kept on buying, there was no reason to lower prices. If the drought subsides, why would a company, I don't know, have a conscience and lower its prices back down based on supply and demand and the fact that it had survived well enough to price at X? Why did it have to increase the price and leave it there post-drought? Well, olive oil prices have hit that record level, and thanks to prolonged drought and top producer Spain, and the elevated prices are expected to stay for some time. This is an article over at CNBC. Li Ying Shan is the author of it. It says the issues contributing to prices trending in near all-time highs are largely poor weather and a severely dry growing period for much of the Mediterranean. But most importantly in Spain, which is a major producer and exporter of olive oil, said Mintex oilseeds and vegetable oils analyst Kyle Holland. Do you think that's on their desk placard?
Most
Kyle
definitely.
Holland, Mintex oilseeds and vegetable oils analyst.
I didn't even know that was a job.
Hey. If what I tell people is if you are charismatic and passionate about anything, it could be anything, widgets, little blocks of wood, and you want to talk about it for 8 hours, there's going to be an audience that it really embraces your passionate, charismatic personality. So do it. Much to the AI chagrin, I'll say it. Follow your bliss.
Oh, thank you.
So olive oil spread used to be 99p. It's now 129. That's a lot. Plus, lots of the basic ranges have disappeared. Even Aldi is expensive now, said a Twitter user based in England. Probably flagged by now as supported by the government. Anyway, I think that it goes beyond this, but probably in another 3 months is when that will actually, I'm very conspiratorial, but not hard, I'm not hardline conspiracy theory minded. I just think that we don't get the full picture until additional context comes out. And so I think that my prediction that the prices are going to stay there, but it's going to be staying there because the businesses are profitable beyond profitable, not simply because there's a drought, because people are willing to pay, and that elasticity of demand pricing, people will pay because they want olive oil, and they'll give up other things to get it even at that higher price. Oh, and here they talk about it. Demand pressures are putting more strain on already challenged supply chains. The demand for olive oil has been strong in recent years. Prices have been rising since 2020 because consumers were eating and cooking at home more often after the COVID-19 pandemic. On top of that, the Russian invasion of Ukraine drove prices up. That's exactly what I just got done saying. It is a legitimate, more complex thing than just poor weather. And it isn't something that you can do in a small footprint. They need to be separated like this, typically in desert type environments.
But not
huge
too
drains
desert.
of water, right? They need water all the time. I mean, this is, as much as I love olive oil, this is such a tax on nature.
Yeah. Maybe we need to get towards something else. I love olive oil, but I don't. That doesn't seem sustainable.
Well, the prices will go up because they can't keep on expanding. And so at some point, the people who can't afford it won't get it, or they'll get lower grades and suffer through that. I wouldn't know high-end olive oil if I got hit in the head with a bottle of it. That's not a challenge to anybody, by the way. So if you see me out there on the streets of ohmTown, don't go hucking olive oil bottles at me. Let's go on to the next and last article for today. This $6 million Las Vegas bunker is still looking for a buyer. It's 26 feet underground, decorated like the 1970s, and it really is, and owned by a foundation that wants to freeze humans for science. Let me throw that over into the chat, and welcome to the ohmTown Daily News Show. If you're in chat and lurking, thanks for coming and hanging out. We're on our last article, and this particular article I've known about for a couple of years now, at least. This thing has been on the market. I can't remember when I first heard about it, but it looks like a normal, I don't want to say normal, because it's really not like a track home kind of a thing. I'm setting this up so when the AI actually gets a look at what this looks like on the outside, they'll truly be amazed, because I've already seen and known about this for a while. It just happened to pop back into ohmTown. So it says, if you're in the market for a 15,000 square foot bunker decorated like an authentic 1970s home, you're in luck. A Las Vegas property that fits the bill, initially sold or listed. Yeah, I'm right. So in 2019 for $18 million is still looking for a buyer. It's just now $5.9 million. So let's go take a look at this thing. It's 26 feet underground. On the outside, it looks like, what do you want to say? What do you call that? Mediterranean style kind of house, right? On the outside. But what you're looking at here, this above the fold area, is actually from inside the bunker. So Dan Latu and Mary Meisenzahl is the author of, or are the authors of this over at businessinsider.com. I'll scroll down. And for those of you who are listening to this via the podcast, I will never be able to do this justice. I don't think the AI will be able to do this justice by describing it. Painted ceilings.
How to describe it.
It looks like a house built inside a warehouse with a blue and white painted daytime scene on the ceiling with neon lights and faux grass and lawn chairs. And then you walk into the back room of what looks like a house with sliding glass doors. I know from the history of this that there's actually a pool behind where this camera is taking a picture. But let's go through some of these pictures, because you're going to go, wow, this is astonishing that somebody did this much. So it has lighting changes that reflect the time of day. And so you never have to go outside, which means you don't have to go up 26 feet to what this house looks like on the outside. So it's built in 1978. It's a bunker, 15,000 square feet, for sale, $5.9 million. There was a company that purchased it. What was it called? Stasis Foundation. There it is. Stasis Foundation, which was basically built on the idea of freezing people. Supposedly, if I recall correctly, this house has hidden passages to a stasis room so that you could actually freeze somebody. And another passageway that goes to an office building, but nobody truly knows. I think they won't disclose if it truly does have it until after the buy, or they find somebody that they can share that in with confidentially. So realtor Stephen LaForge, which for this makes it sound like a Star Trek episode, Told Insider the price adjustment reflects the range of offers the property has received since being listed, but the seller remains committed to its unique value. They're not going to get $15 million. To build a comparative property, LaForge estimates it could take up to 8 times the current asking price. But you know why it would cost 8 times the asking price? Because nobody would do it.
True, but also the cost of, although I don't know, late 70s, it was probably expensive, but not in today's prices.
Yeah, this is pretty wild. Let me scroll down. So this is the plot that it's located in. So it has row homes around it, but a major intersection right next to it. Looks like a mall parking lot or something, office building maybe. I'm not sure what that is. But it says the house was originally built in 1978 for an Avon executive and is located 3 miles from the Las Vegas Strip. Above ground, a small guest house sits on the site, but there's far more to the property than meets the eye. So you can see that it looks kind of like this, standard
Average
Las
house.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Las Vegas, Southern California, Mediterranean style house. Pretty plain Jane.
Nondescript, exactly.
Nondescript, yeah. But inside, a staircase on the home's lower level leads to 26 feet down to an underground bunker with 5 bedrooms, 6 baths, and a swimming pool. And again, it's 15,000 square feet, so it's roomy. Everything, the stone is actually taken from a previous area that the person lived. There's murals all over the walls that are reminiscent of places that the previous owner lived. The furniture is included, but it's all 70s era. I'm not sure how big the bunker door is to get all of this stuff out. But I wouldn't want any of this. And when you're sitting inside the house and you look out those windows are things that are representative of outside. So you might feel like you can just run outside and dip your toes in the grass. But no, it's a fake lawn. It's well lit, but it still seems dark and doom ish,
It's giving me claustrophobia looking at the photos.
And for an AI, I'm going to consider that a win. So, yeah, all of it is just a little overwhelming to me. I would want to gut this whole thing, but that's my style. I like clean walls, no clutter, the ability to think. When there's so much chaos, I can't think like this. Yeah, pool table. There's like a bar area, a couple of bar areas actually in the same place. But here's the kitchen, and this is one that I wanted to show you. This is the kitchen. It's pink and white.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah. Oh, it's awful. I like that. That's funny. It just screams funhouse to me, It's really out there. Is Haunted Mansion style,
Yes, exactly.
So they're trying to get it rezoned for commercial. You can have a corporate retreat or they say raves. To me, it just seems really doom and gloomy. But I'm also the type of person that at one point in my life, I wanted a custom home that was built around a bank so that I could sleep in the vault because I don't like noise. And then without any sense of irony, I said, hey, this house that we're moving into, I sure hope that I don't end up with dogs barking because the previous house had dogs barking all the time. And sure enough, on both sides are dogs barking, and across an area where I live, there are dogs barking as well. So what I would end up here is dogs barking.
Even though it was all below ground and there.
Even though it's all below ground. Yeah. But
We
yeah,
could
I love
pipe in
silence.
dogs barking or something.
I love silence when I'm trying to sleep so that I can control what the audio is that I have. And there's nothing that disturbs me because I can hear like a mouse fart in another room. It's really disturbing. But can you imagine living in this? We're spending a lot of time on this because it's the last article for the night. But there is so much pink.
I could not live in this location.
There's
For a lot
pink
of
and
reasons.
cream color mirrors that are around three sides of the
The
bathtub.
70s decor, the kind of gloom and doom, I don't know. There are just a lot of things that
It just
it's
sounds
very
like
unusual, but it's not appealing.
it screams post-apocalyptic existence.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think we're just going to call it a night. You can go and check it out on Zillow and Realtor and just do a search for Las Vegas underground bunker. That'll probably pull this up because it's very popular. And again, look at that. I mean, it's basically right on the corner, a big corner lot for Las Vegas.
I guess it would be good for a company, but I don't see that it would be good for a lot of people to live in it.
Yeah. I don't know.
But even a company doesn't fit a lot of standard company needs.
Yeah, pretty wild. So, like always, we drag you kicking and screaming back to the welcome sign of ohmTown and mash that button, and then it'll refresh and it'll give us a whole bunch of new articles, 50 per page. And what? It's Thursday, so Wednesday, Thursday is pretty much one of the busiest times for news in ohmTown. And you're guaranteed to find something. If I stop scrolling, the AI will probably say, "Hey, check that out." Yeah, I don't know. When is Cinco de Mayo, by the way?
El Cinco de Mayo, tomorrow, the 5th of May.
I always giggle when I say that, and people
That's
look at
probably
me.
the best one on the main page because there's some.
Oh
the
God!
One about just in time for Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, there's always something. Good, bad, ugly. It's the very nature of society here, all packed into one site. But it's all news, no noise. We put some anecdotal and contextual stuff in the show, but none of that influences what is aggregated into ohmTown. So if you're interested in something, you have 6 main categories, 50 channels within it. You can subscribe to whatever channels you're interested in, and that's what your news will be. And in time, it'll become more enhanced. We're working on a couple major projects. But with all of that in mind, thank you very much for coming to May the 4th, 2023 episode of ohmTown Daily News Show. You want to say bye? Because I'm Mayor Watt, that's ohmTown.com, and the AI is above me.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. We will see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern.
9 p.m. Be there. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.